Hey guys, hello and welcome to Naveed for Speed. This is the Honda CR-V. It's the plug-in hybrid version. And today I'm taking this car on a mini road trip through Wales. Throughout this video, I'm going to be answering some fundamental questions about the Honda CR-V plug-in hybrid and of course let you know exactly why I'm in Wales. So what is it? This is the Honda CR-V. It's Honda's premium SUV. It sits as the largest SUV in Honda's range. And it is quite large. The car is over 4.5 meters long, is almost 2 meters wide and weighs nearly 2 tons. So it's a big boy. Who is it for? Well, in short, the Honda CR-V is for everyone. It has loads of great features for family life and tons of practicality. And for those company car drivers, it has a low benefit in kind tax rate. So you'll save money there thanks to it being a plug-in hybrid. And in the different driving modes, there's even a snow mode, which I'll get onto a little bit later in this video. But for now, let's have a look at the way this car looks. So how does it look? Well, it looks like this. It looks pretty good, to be honest. It's in true Honda fashion. It looks sharper than the last Honda CR-V, especially with these sort of creases and lines along the side of the car. The front of the car is where you get most of the presence though. This gloss black grille just looks so good, especially contrasting to this white paintwork. This paintwork is an optional extra. It costs just under £1,000 and it's called Diamond Dust Pearl. It's basically a pearlescent paint color, and you can see in this sunlight as it's shining onto the car, you can see how it really pops. It makes the car seem quite posh, to be honest. It does turn quite a bit of heads. Cool little number plate that Honda press team have put on this car, just in case you forget what the model is. The side of the car you get 18-inch alloy wheels, and this particular one is sat on these Michelin Primacy wheel tires. So in the wet weather like we've been having here in Wales, it really does, it really can handle itself. Gloss black on the mirrors. You get this gloss black roof rails, which is really good for, it gives it that rugged feel, and of course you can store things on the top of the car as well for adventures, like if you're going on a road trip to Wales. Towards the back of the car, again, I think the back of the car has a lot of presence as well. You get these signature headlights, which Honda say are really unique, but they just remind me of Volvo rear lights, you know, with the same shape, and this sort of reminds me a little bit of BMW. So it does have a few features from other cars, or at least looks like it's inspired by other cars. But overall, I think as a package, it looks pretty good. And again, even though the car is quite big, I don't think it feels big when driving, and it doesn't look that big too. But it certainly has some presence on the road, and in this paint color, it looks so good. So why am I in Wales? Well, the reason why I'm in Wales is because in the last year or so, I've done some sort of road trip in Scotland. I've done some sort of road trip in Ireland, and the only one to tick off now for me would have been Wales. Now, I was actually supposed to come to Wales a few weeks ago when I had the Isuzu D-Max, the V-Cross, the white one. In fact, if you want to watch a video of that, I'll put a link up in this corner here. I was actually supposed to take that car, or that pickup truck, to Snowdonia National Park, but unfortunately I wasn't well. I was ill at the time, and so I wasn't actually able to take the car to Snowdonia and of course Wales in general. But for this car, for the Honda CR-V, I wanted to take this car to Wales. I wanted to go on a little bit of a road trip. And of course, I want to see what all the fuss is about with this new 20-mile-an-hour speed limit that Wales has. And so far, what I am seeing is in the towns and in the cities, you are getting that 20-mile-an-hour speed limit, but it's actually very minimal. In general, especially on the roads that I've been driving on, you don't tend to feel that, because in general, you're going to be driving at 60 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour, depending on the speed limit. So I wanted to come and see what it was like for that. But also, I wanted to go to the seaside town of Aberystwyth, because I've heard that the west coast of Wales is very beautiful. So that's where I'm headed today for this video. When I researched the road trips in Wales, I had a few different suggestions. One was the Cambrian Way. There was something called the Spine of the Dragon, which goes all the way down the centre of Wales. There was some that was like a coastal road. So I thought I'd mix it up a little bit. I'll come through Snowdonia National Park, go towards the west coast, Aberystwyth, and then maybe either go towards the Brecon Beacons or the cities on the south coast. But so far I am really enjoying Wales. I'm really enjoying the open road. The weather is very wet at the moment. Here we go, there's some 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, but I've not seen a lot of this, and it's actually pretty nice and peaceful when I come to these small little towns and little built-up areas, which is nice. So how does it feel to drive? Well, in short, the Honda CR-V surprisingly does not feel as big as it is. In comparison, when I drove the Suzuki Across, which is basically a Toyota RAV4, that felt big. And there was definitely a lot of body lean. There was a lot of roll when I was driving that. With the CR-V, there's a little bit of lean, but it doesn't lift up at the front when you take off. And I think that's thanks to the weight of this car. It is under 2 tons, and because of the electric motors, it can set off very quickly. It can set off a lot quicker than what you would think. 0 to 60 is just over 9 seconds, but that instant torque that you get from the electric motor makes it feel like it's quicker than it is. So definitely, whilst you're around the city, around town, or even on a dual carriageway where you just want to get a bit of acceleration, just nip around some cars, just get around some traffic, the car can really pick up its skirt and get going, to be honest. And that makes the car feel smaller than it is. In terms of the suspension and the ride itself, it is a little bit bouncy at times, especially when you're going over speed bumps. But in general, your normal road surface with the potholes and everything, it's really quite comfortable. The seats are really comfortable as well. So overall, the comfort level is good. Now, again, if I compare it to the Suzuki Across, which is also a plug-in hybrid, the Suzuki Across did also seem quite similar to this Honda CR-V in terms of its ride, but in contrast, it was the Toyota RAV4, which I'm told is a lot more harsh in its ride. It's a lot more firm, whereas this, I think, is the perfect level of comfort. And that's why on this road trip that I'm on right now, I have driven a few hours and I'm still feeling really fresh. I'm still feeling really excited for more miles ahead, even though I'm in this rugged environment with this rain and this weather. Although when the going gets tough, the Honda CR-V can get going. What I mean by that is the car has a load of driving modes, including a snow mode. Even though this car is only 2-wheel drive, it only drives the front wheels, it's in the snow, you have a snow mode, so you can get yourself out of trouble. There's also a load of other modes. You got your normal, you got your economy, you've got your sport mode as well. So in general, when you're driving this car, the sound that you get from the engine, well, first and foremost, you can drive this car in fully electric, and when you do, it's really quiet. It's actually so strange coming from driving a petrol or a diesel car to then driving this car, which is silent on electric power. But when the engine kicks in, you do start to feel it, but there's no sort of uncomfortable vibrations through the steering wheel or through the seats. It's always nice and quiet and nice and comfortable. Again, perfect for a long journey like this. When you put the car into sport mode, now you get a lot more response from that throttle. I didn't even move my foot off the throttle and the car suddenly sped up a little bit. And you can certainly hear that accelerator, that engine note from the exhaust. Yeah, you're certainly aware that now the car is raring to go. And again, that's so surprising because of its size. It doesn't feel as big as the Suzuki Across. I think for a journey like this, the car's perfect. Around town as well, the car has been comfortable, it's been easy to drive, and parking wise, I'll get onto parking shortly. Right, so here we go. After several hours of driving, we finally made it here in Aberystwyth to the hotel, the Aberystwyth Park Lodge Hotel. Sorry, I got a bit confused with the Welsh there. Yeah, at the Aberystwyth Park Hotel, and here is the Honda CR-V that's brought us here. I will admit, from a comfort point of view, my bottom is feeling a little bit numb at the moment, though the seats are a little bit on the harsher side. What can I tell you about driving in Wales so far? The 20-mile-an-hour limit, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be able to live with that all the time, because when you are getting into these small little built-up areas, it is really quiet at times, and you're just driving what feels like really slow. So I'm glad I live in England and I don't have to worry about that, at least for now. But yeah, I couldn't do that all the time here in Wales. So that's a bit of a downside. But Wales is beautiful. I went through Snowdonia National Park. It is really cool. Join me again tomorrow, where I will be talking a lot more about this car, exactly how it looks. I'll show you a little bit more about the interior, the practicality, and some safety features of the car as well. See you then. After failing to charge the Honda's battery using the Tesla chargers, I enjoyed a lovely breakfast and then headed in to Aberystwyth to see the beach. Tell me about the interior. Well, technically that one's not a question, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Upon first glance, when looking at the interior, everything seems a little bit dark. But that's because the panoramic sunroof isn't open. As soon as you open the panoramic sunroof, loads of light suddenly fills the cabin and it feels a lot more spacious. I know the car's quite large anyway, but inside you're definitely not cramped. You've got these cup holders that sit side by side. Usually when a car has cup holders side by side, it means there's loads of space. Materials around the cabin are pretty good as well. You've got leather with some stitching there as well. You've got plastics all over the door cards. You've got gloss black features. One of the features which I really quite like is this sort of mesh grille feature on the dashboard, which houses the air vents. It's pretty cool how it incorporates those air vents, so you can't necessarily see them, but they're definitely there. I'm not quite sure about these little knobs as to how to turn them, and I'm not quite sure how to turn off the air vents in the middle of the dashboard, but there you have it. I really like the fact that the climate controls are using these switches and these buttons. You get heated seats and ventilated seats in this advanced tech version. The seats, I will mention, aren't as comfortable as you might think. When you first sit in the car, they feel really comfortable, and you get, I think it's 8 different ways to electrically adjust the driver's seat, and the passenger seat does electrically adjust as well, although you don't get lumbar support in the passenger seat and you can't adjust the height of the passenger seat. But having driven this car on a road trip, on a long journey like I currently am, I will tell you that after a few hours in the saddle, you will get a numb bum like I have today. So just be wary of that. But otherwise, I think the suspension soaks up quite a lot of the bumps on the road. And I think the cabin is a pretty cool place to be. There's so many cool features about this car, which I'm going to talk to you about later on in this video. What's the infotainment system like? Well, the infotainment system, like with most Hondas, sits here slightly high up in the dashboard, but I think it's in the perfect height because it doesn't impede your view, but it's really easy to look at whilst you're driving. You get this 9-inch multicolored touchscreen when you get, and you also get your audio controls as buttons here, which is really good. I usually hate it when cars have full touchscreens. I really like the fact that they incorporate buttons and switches for climate controls and the audio controls. You get this touchscreen here. This is the menu that is currently on, and as you can see, the icons for the menus are quite large, which is really good, so it's easy to click. It's not the most responsive system, but it's still pretty good. I like that. Again, you have buttons to go back and to go back to home, and you can choose a load of different systems to play your music, to navigate your way to where you're going. You can also connect your phone using Bluetooth. You can connect your phone using Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. In front of you, you get this 10.2, I think it's 10.2, is it 10? You get a 10-inch digital dash, and you can change the way that you see your information on this. There's so many different ways to configure your digital dash and get the information in front of you that you need. As you can see, that's my average fuel economy so far. I will talk about fuel economy shortly in the video. How practical is it? Well, I'll show you exactly how practical it is. If we take, for example, the back door opens almost at a 90 degrees angle. So it's great for if you have kids and they've got child seats, you can get them in and out of the car easily. Although you do have to be careful if you are parking alongside other cars in a car park, for example, you don't swing the door out and hit the other cars. But getting in and out of the car is quite easy. In the back, there's plenty of legroom for adults. I think 3 adults can fit side by side in the back quite easily. Headroom is a little bit strange though, because you have this panoramic sunroof that sort of rolls back. The headroom is a little bit restricted because of the way that it rolls back, and it all gets stored back here above the rear passengers. But you know, you might be hitting your head on that. But otherwise, I think in general, for family life, especially if you've got kids, the back is perfect. The door windows are quite low, so anybody in the back can see really well. There's great visibility. There's also, I forgot to mention, the rear seats are also heated in this advanced tech model. If we go towards the boot of the car, now you can open the boot by hitting the latch, or you should be able to open the boot by just kicking underneath the boot. But usually I can get this to work on other cars. In the Honda CR-V, I've had a lot of problems. If you know in the comments how to do it, let me know. But I just use the handle, or you can use the keys, or there's a button by the driver's right knee that you can press to open the boot. The boot is over 600 litres in the plug-in hybrid version, which is a little bit strange because the normal hybrid version has less boot space. Usually it's the other way around, but because of the way the batteries are cooled in the 2 different versions of cars, the battery for the plug-in hybrid is actually underneath the cabin, whereas the battery for the regular hybrid sits underneath the boot, so it robs some boot space. So you actually get under 600 litres of boot space in the normal hybrid. In the plug-in hybrid, you get over 600 litres of boot space. And the floor of the boot, you can lift it up, you can store all your charging cables underneath there, and of course you can lower that floor and you get a bit of a load lip. You also do get this this lip over here. If you are going to put the rear seats down, it's a 60-40 split, but not all of whatever you put in the boot is not going to be flat because of this sort of bit there. You do get a cover for your boot as well, so nobody can see what you've got in there. Similar to cars like the Toyota RAV4 and the Suzuki Across, it is just this sort of cover rather than a full-on parcel shelf. What is cool, however, if you press this button over here, the boot will close automatically, but if you press this button over here, the boot will wait until you've left, and then it will close and the car should lock behind you. So if we just wait for it, Is it easy to park? Well, yeah, aside from the fact that this car has 360 cameras and it has all sorts of cameras around the car and parking sensors, it has Honda's Pilot Assist feature as well. So you simply press this button over here and then you just drive slowly forward whilst the car looks for, let's drive forward, whilst the car looks for a suitable parking spot. And then as soon as it finds a suitable parking spot, you simply select the spot and then you press the button again to accept, and then you take your foot off the brake and the car should do the rest. So go forward a little bit maybe, then it'll reverse a little, but it's not going to reverse fully into the space. It's going to go up to this red line because it's going to try and avoid any other cars that might be parked either side of that bay. And whilst it might take a while, I think eventually it will get there. But you do have to be careful and keep an eye on this, because the car tells you with the red line where it's going to reverse until. So just before it gets there, I think I'm going to press my foot on the brake. There we go. There we go. Parking complete. Nice and easy. Is it comfortable? Now I've already been through this in this video. I have been driving this car for several hours and I am starting to feel it, especially in my legs and my bottom. The seats are a little bit harsh, but the suspension itself isn't too bad. There have been some moments where I've been coming up to some bumps in the road and I've really been bracing, and I've actually, to my surprise, not felt a big jolt. Generally for long journeys, this car does seem to be quite comfortable. Now, I did mention earlier in the video that there are three main driving modes, but there are more driving modes beyond that. So the three main driving modes are economy, which is what I've had the car in most of the time. You've got your normal driving mode and your sport. The sport driving mode I have been using from time to time, particularly when it comes to overtaking. And as soon as I put the car into sport mode, you suddenly get this burst of power. It starts to go slightly faster, and you can hear the engine note a little bit more. But weirdly enough, there's not a lot of noise and there's not a lot of vibration. Ultimately, the car stays nice and comfortable throughout any driving mode. Of course, because it's not snowing, I've not used the snow mode. Another thing which I will mention is, although this car is a plug-in hybrid, most of the time I've had this car, the battery hasn't been charged. It's been entirely empty. Now, fuel economy wise, this car is quoted to do over 350 miles per gallon. Now, of course, if you are charging this car at home using a plug-in charger, you will be able to get very good fuel economy because you won't be using fuel that often, especially if your commute is less than 50 miles there and back. I do know that a lot of people, when testing this car, haven't seen 50 miles on pure electric driving. They've seen closer to 30 miles. But again, it still stands that if you are commuting less than 30 miles to work and back, or to wherever you're going and back, then you should be fine. But if you do find yourself like me on a long journey and your battery has run out of charge, then the car will run as a traditional hybrid and you will be looking at around 45 miles per gallon. What I've been getting is around 40 miles per gallon. So slightly less, but then again, I have been driving in sport mode as well quite often. The windy roads that you find here in Wales are quite nice. They are very well paved, very well maintained, and quite enjoyable. So I am really enjoying the car and this country when it all comes together, especially when it's not raining as it has been most of the time. Talking about rain, I want to mention the Michelin Primacy tires that this car has on, which are supposed to be really good in the rain, and it was raining quite heavily yesterday, which you will have been able to see in the video, and the car was amazing throughout all that. The tires always gave me grip and I never lost any confidence whilst driving. Sometimes you can maybe slip a little bit here and there, maybe aquaplane. None of that at all. The car gave me as much grip as I needed all the time, and I was confident throughout it all. Is it safe? Yeah, the Honda CR-V is actually a really safe car. I mean, aside from the confidence that you get and the grip that you get, the Honda CR-V has loads of safety features built in. Now, although I don't feel like I've needed any of these safety features to kick in at any particular time, they have been there, and it is quite reassuring to know that they're there, particularly when it comes to the lane keep assist. Quite often the car will suspect that you are going to be straying out the lane and it will kick in. Like I say, I can't recall a time where I feel like I needed it, but it's nice to know it's there. There's a lot of other features as well, like you got the cross traffic monitor, so if you come to a junction and you are about to accelerate out of the junction, and if there's a car coming from either side, the Honda CR-V will actually warn you. There's also like automatic braking if it suspects that there's going to be a collision in front of you, and there are actually loads of cameras and sensors throughout all the car, which you can summon whenever you want using these the indicator stalk and this light stalk. So if I click this button on this side, the camera, well, whilst I'm driving, won't show me. I'll show you when I'm parking, I'll show you the camera. But if I click this side, it will show you the camera from the view out of the passenger side mirror, which is really quite useful for if you want to change lanes or if you want to turn to see if there's maybe a cyclist coming along. And then you could just press the button and turn that off again. So there's loads of really cool features in this car that are designed to make your life easier. And I feel like on a journey like this, although yeah, I am talking about me feeling a little bit tired and a little bit numb and a little bit sore, I feel like the car has made the journey so much easier. And every time I get out of the car and I look back and I realize that I've been driving such a big car on such a journey, it is pretty cool. The Honda CR-V is a cool car, but we have to get on to the elephant in the room, which is the price. Now, Honda is one of the biggest offenders when it comes to pricing their cars quite high. The Honda CR-V is a popular car, particularly here in Europe, but Honda have obviously changed their production from Swindon, for this car, from Swindon all the way to China. So I suspect that will increase the price of the car a little bit as well, because they need to ship the car. The reason why they've done that is because the production of the batteries is done nearby to China, so it makes sense for them to produce the car in China. This particular plug-in hybrid version is not yet available in some markets like America, but I suspect that this is something which they are going to see very soon. The technology that we're seeing here in Europe will probably trickle down to other markets as well. But that is, of course, if it becomes attractive enough. For £55,000, that is including the optional extra paint. So we're talking £54,000 for the car as standard with all these features that you get. Is a lot of money, and you can get a load of competitor cars for a lot cheaper. But I think the Honda CR-V since the 1990s has been such a trademark of this particular class of car that I think it will always remain a popular car. I'm interested to see what the production figures and the sales figures will be like, but I'm not going to doubt that this is a good car. And I'm not going to doubt that Wales is a beautiful country as well. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you join me for the next video, where hopefully I'll be going on another little adventure, exploring another car and experiencing new things.